Yeah. What's happening, live stream crew? It's your boy Offbeat, live streaming from my car once again. I am in my car once again, and that only means one thing. Well, it doesn't actually. I could be in my car for numerous reasons, but I am in my car because I am in sunny Peterborough once again. You can see how sunny it is. Pitch black and pissing it down. I have been back for my sort of business mastermind coaching thing that I'm on, talking all things music. Sup, Edward Tier? How's it going, mate? Um, and it's been another amazing day. I've picked up lots of stuff, and I will be talking a little bit more about that towards the end of the stream. But I wanted to talk all things horror tonight because earlier this week I released a song called Same Old, which is like a spooky horror song off my album. Evening chaps, how you doing? And basically just like lots of things have popped up recently that have been like horror related, and I was just thinking like, what could I do a live stream about tonight? And then just popped into my head like, why not talk about horror? Something that I'm into, something that I don't talk about very much or haven't talked about much in the past. So I thought I will do a little live stream about that, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of you lot are into it as well. So I thought it'd be a good concept for content. Good topic. There you go. I've been a big fan of horror all my life, really, like ever since I was a little kid. And I remember my first experience was going into like a video shop with my mum in Plymouth, where I kind of grew up. And it was like this little old school independent video shop, which sadly is no longer there, obviously, because video shops don't really exist anymore. And on the top floor, it was all like kids' films and family films. And this was like the early 90s, so I'm talking like Beethoven and The Simpsons, like season 1 and 2 and stuff like that on video. But then downstairs, there was like a little flight of stairs, and you could go into the cellar. And then downstairs was like I might be about like looking at the videos on the top floor, like the kids' stuff and the family stuff, and I'd be like, I'm just gonna pop downstairs, and she'd be like, all right. And I'd go downstairs and basically just like look at all the covers of all the videos and be like, just mesmerized by them. And again, because it was like the 90s, like the video cover designs were all like airbrushed. So they always looked way cooler and way better than they actually were. And obviously I wasn't really allowed to watch them. So I just imagined how amazing they'd be. And obviously as a kid, your imagination like runs wild, doesn't it? So I'd look at all these video covers of like either, it wasn't like porn, but it was like titillating stuff. So like I'm trying to think of an example now, like National Lampoon and that sort of thing, where like on the covers there'd be like a woman with like huge boobs in like a little bikini and stuff, and it'd be airbrushed, you'd be able to see her nips and stuff like that. And obviously there's like I don't know how old I was, like 6-year-old kid or something. That was like amazing. I was so excited. But also the horror stuff, my Caleb just said don't live behind you, and that's genuinely freaked me out. The horror stuff, like all the like villains and baddies and slashers and stuff like that would all be airbrushed, and they'd look amazing, and I'd like my imagination would run away with me, and I'd be like, oh, I really want to watch this. And then obviously, because she's a good mum, my mum would be like, no. And even then, even at that tender age, I'd like turn the videos around and look at the back, and they'd have like stills from the actual films themselves, and they'd look shit in comparison, because on the front it'd be like this cool monster all airbrushed and looking wicked, like a big fantasy like image illustration. And then the back would, I wasn't allowed to watch anything like that. And I remember at the time there was a movie called Hellraiser 3 that had just come out. That's how long ago we're talking. So whenever that movie came out that year, this is what we're talking about. So there was like a big cutout, like cardboard point of sale like display for Hellraiser 3 with the main like bad guy on it called Pinhead, who's got like all these nails in his head, holding the Lament configuration box. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh my god, that looks so cool. And my mum just being like, nope. And then like I had a TV in my room, and I wasn't allowed to watch TV late at night, but I watched it because I'm a bad boy. And I shouldn't have been watching it this late, and my mum had already said like, turn the telly off, go to sleep. And I was like, okay. And then like I like turned it back on like secretly, and like was watching it in secret. And this like clip from Hellraiser 3 came on the screen, and it was that guy Pinhead, and he literally, the clip from the film is him going, "This is not for your eyes," and I was like, ah, thinking like he's talking directly to me, and just shat myself and turned the TV off and like put the covers over my head and like was terrified and traumatized. So that's like my first experience of it. But then obviously when you're a kid, you want to do the stuff you're not allowed to do, right? So I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies until I was, don't know what age, 15, 16, something like that. But before that, my mate from school lent me a video of Candyman, and I watched it in secret and wasn't like scared because I'm solid, obviously. And then but I got like hooked because I was like, oh my god, like I've watched one, now I've got to watch them all. And my neighbours at the time were like, they had the Hellraiser videos, and like I snuck around there and watched them. And then I felt so guilty about it that I told my mum, and she was like, well, I said you couldn't watch them because I've been trying to like protect you, but you know, if they haven't scared you and you've just done it, then whatever, go and go and watch them, fine, whatever. And I was like, I'm allowed to watch them now. So I just went wild and basically just bought every single horror movie I could ever find. And just then I could tell the films were pretty shit. But it was the characters that I was more into. So Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger was like my main one I loved. Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees, Child's Play, Chucky, like all of them, I loved them. So yeah, that was, I was like really into them when I was I've noticed like every decade there's like almost like a what was that right one now? So like in the sort of, I guess like the noughties, it was like films like Saw and Hostel, and it was like that whole like torture porn thing, which was okay, but I wasn't that into. And then in the teenies, it was like films like, oh, what was it called? Paranormal Activity and in-house stuff, and like a lot of remakes as well of like classic movies, which like I don't even know why they bother because they're never going to be as good. So like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street was dog shit. So yeah, I'm not that into like modern horror films, but I did watch recently Us, I think it's called, by Jordan Peele. I've got to be really careful not to confuse him with Jordan Peterson because they've got very similar names, but they're very different people. Jordan Peele, and that was quite good. And I think there's another movie he's done which I haven't seen, which apparently is a lot better, so I need to watch that one as well. And I've just found out also that he is making a remake of Candyman. So that was the first movie I mentioned, the one that my mate lent me from school that I watched all those years ago when I was like, I don't know, 14 or something, maybe even younger than that. And he's doing a remake of it. So I am going to go and watch that. I think that will be really good. That comes out on the 20th, I think, of this month. So yeah. So there you go. That's like a little quick history of my experience of horror and what I think of like modern stuff. So I just thought I'd share that with you and also find out what you guys think about it, because I bet some of you are into it as well. So I figured, I don't know if I'm getting honked at, if you can hear that. So yeah, let me know. Are you guys into it? Are you horror fans? And if so, what sort of stuff are you into? I'm going to have a little read of these comments while you respond to that question. So Edward Tier, Robbie Meesday, Caleb Ray all say variations of hello, evening fam, evening, yo. Sup guys, how you doing? Twig says sneeze, cool, I'll take that as a hello. Robbie Meesday says, my parents had left Alien in the video player. I was 8, it was traumatizing. Oh shit, yeah, that would be. I watched Aliens first, and then I don't know how old I was. I was allowed to watch the Alien movies because I don't think my mum didn't think they were horror movies, but like they were pretty badass. I watched Aliens first though, and then watched Alien. So like I think now I can appreciate that Alien is probably a better movie. But when you're a kid, all you want is like action, isn't it? So like Aliens was way better. I watched that, loads of like, well, more than one alien for a start, and loads of like guns and explosions and stuff. And I was like, this is sick. I actually really rate Alien 3, but I know a lot of people don't. And then Alien Resurrection, I really liked at the time. And then I didn't like it because I thought I was like a film buff and it wasn't a good film. And then I watched it again recently and I was like, actually, it's not bad. But Alien versus Predator, oh my god, that is awful. And then Alien versus Predator 2, oh, not even worth mentioning. But yeah, I like the Alien movies. Not mad on the Prometheuses though, or Alien, that including the Akiga, make them all deformed. It's pretty cool. That does sound pretty cool. Edward Tier says, surely in a car. Thank you. I'm in Peterborough as well, so quick dodge. Odd chap, what's up? Says, oh yeah, man's at a stream. What's up, man? How you doing? What time is it for you if you're at this? It must be like 7 in the morning or something for you. What are you doing up? Twig says there's a spider climbing on the roof. I don't mind if it's on the roof, as long as it's not inside. Caleb, have you ever heard of Offbeat before? I think you'd like his music. It's pretty good. It is pretty good. I'm not a big fan of Odd Chap, though, I've got to be honest. Edward Tier liked Offbeat before it was cool. It's never been cool. The horror movie. Lol. Well, mate, when you came to visit me, we went to watch The Meg, and that was pretty terrifying. If I've ever, like, that's definitely one of the scariest monster movies I've ever seen. Giant shark. Although it does literally get knocked out by Jason Statham punching it, so maybe not that scary. Edward Tier says, I can't deal with horror. I was convinced to go see Paranormal Activity 3 with friends. I spent most of the film hiding under my jumper. Not going to lie. Fair. And Caleb says, I don't like horror, but Doctor Sleep was really good. If you haven't seen it yet, it's not scary, it's creepy. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about different types of scariness. So one of the reasons I don't like modern horror, and to be fair, like all of the movies that I was obsessed with them when I was a teenager weren't any better, but I was just younger and more like naive and didn't care because I just wanted gore, and I was just, and mainly it was the fact that I was just allowed to watch them, so I was just going wild. Didn't really have any critical faculties. But I think horror movies that rely on like jump scares, that's like a cheap scare. That's like the equivalent of like a fart joke in comedy, I think. Like for me, it's like the psychological stuff that's scarier, and like the, you know, when you don't see something and you imagine it, that's much scarier. But like so many modern horror movies, there's like a formula. You can tell when the scare is going to be, because like it'll be someone goes into a room, like a dark room with like a match or something. Oh, here it's going to be. The scare is going to happen now, and then it doesn't, and then everyone's like, oh, they're relieved, and then it happens, and it's so formulaic, man. I've been in the cinema with people before, and they've jumped at that moment, and I'm like, surely you saw that coming. But I'm usually face deep in a bag of pick and mix at that point, so it's all good. Robbie says, I loved The Evil Dead 3. It was more of a horror comedy. Love the Evil Dead series, by which I mean the film, not the TV show. Although I haven't really watched the TV show. I did watch one episode of it, and it was like somehow travels back in time, and in this before, that's where it's from. Caleb also says jump scares are dumb. I agree. Oh shit. Okay, so I'm on my laptop in my car. I've just got a notification, so I've got 10% battery left. So I'm going to have to wrap this up shortly. Rose LeQuinn, hello, says, nice, I'm watching from Jordan. Oh, wicked, cool. Thanks very much for coming along. Good to see you. Robbie says, Creep has one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in a horror film. What is that line? I don't know. Actually, well, type it. But this may be one of those moments of like pure serendipity, because I was listening to a podcast earlier where someone said there was a movie with a ridiculous line in it, which is mad coincidence, because I was listening to a podcast earlier where they were talking about that. And if it's not, then I've just said something weird on a stream for no reason. Psychological horror is the good shit, says Caleb Ray. Absolutely, I agree. Caleb Ray says Dr. Sleep is very creepy horror. Nice, I might check that out. Edward Tier says, to be fair, you make a good scare. Nice, I agree. Your stream is glitching out for me. Oh shit, okay. I'm going to have to wrap it up, I think, guys, because I've got very little battery and I'm streaming off my phone. And Caleb's saying I only have audio buffering and no video. All right, cool. Well, before I go, I just want to say thank you very much for coming along. Thank you for your recommendations of... did you see the lights just go out? Thank you for all the recommendations of other horror movies. I'm gonna check some of those out for sure. And if you haven't yet, go and check out my song, which is like a horror themed song called Same Old. I've linked to it in the description, announcing something mega that I'm doing. So I briefly alluded to that at the end of the last stream, teased it a little bit. I'm going to tease it again, doing something major soon. And I'm really intrigued to see if you can guess what it is. So do let me know in the comments. Maybe comment on this video once it's finished. Give me some like guesses what you think it might be. That's all I'm going to say for now. but next week you will know more. So nice one, guys, and thank you very much. I'll catch you soon.